All right, dear Matsons, I have 3 boys who are all really different. Of course, I love them all, but sometimes I find myself comparing them to their siblings. What are some things I can do to make sure I express how much I value each of them for how God made them? Sincerely, Boy Mom. Well, I love that you're asking, and even that you're aware that temptation to compare and be like, why can't you be more like? So I'm glad you're holding your tongue, working really hard to regulate that. And if it slips out, then you need to own it and ask forgiveness, right? Because those are really hard things for our kids. Mm-hmm. But overall, I think the tips I would give you is start with a list. Prayerfully ask the Lord, who did you make my boys to be? What are the things that I see that are their unique contribution? Make it really clear to yourself and know that those are the things you're praying into their life and the things that you're going to be spotlighting. I think when we hold it in here, it gets easy to be lost in the day-to-day of life. Mm-hmm. But if you've been really intentional to write it down, keep it in your journal, maybe in your bedside. I know we have some things on the back of our closet that we keep, so it keeps us in mind of what we're trying to do with our girls. Yeah. And I just think that it's a really powerful piece to saying this out loud to each of them as much as you can. So I have a couple more thoughts, but I'll toss the baton for a minute.
Yeah, and each of the parents, especially if you have you and your husband or you and your wife are at home, your voices are unique and different, and no one can take the place of your individual voice. I say this to dads all the time, that no one can take the place of your voice in your son or daughter's life. Mainly because they sometimes feel like they just don't want to say the wrong thing, and I'm trying to encourage them that no, they actually need to speak. By not speaking, they're not having they're having an impact, and they don't even know that they're having the impact that they don't want to have happen. But one of the best times for affirmations or for noticing is just right before bed, kind of a tuck-in time. And I don't know how old your kids are. I'm probably going to tuck my kids until they leave the house, because that's special time, not just for me, but they feel it's it's special to them too. And that's a great time to say, I just want to thank you for who you are. You're such an amazing person, and be specific, right? Tying to who they are, their bent, their wiring, if you will. And that might look like for our oldest, just love the way that you are so organized. I don't have to nag you. I don't have to talk to you about this or that. You are so on top of it, having things in their places. And yet, when it gets a little chaos, you're not freaking out either. So you're a person that just knows how to balance this. And then speaking to her. And I might also just simply say, I want to say thank you for your unique place in our family. No one could take your place in our family. That kind of language, and then giving an example about how they've had a positive impact, and that their unique contribution in our family system is a belonging language. It's reinforcing all these important things. And that coming from a parent's voice, whether it's dad or mom, those are two different voices. But there being some consistency there is, it's really setting some good foundation. And we hope and pray, it's not a guarantee, that it will help them to remember who they are when they leave. And that's the point.
And it's okay to actually name the limitations too. So we might say, I know you struggle here, but look what God gave you over here. And we need to lean into each other with those limitations. So that's the language of, again, is the siblings are all different, to say, you know what? You can lean into your brother for that because he's really good at that, but he has to lean into you for this particular attribute because that's what God gave you. And that's the body of Christ. So we're talking a lot over and over and over. Now, you don't want to pigeonhole your kids. So sometimes kids, if they're feeling squirmy about that or they're pushing back, you might be misreading something or labeling them in a way that feels uncomfortable. So talk about that. But I do love the saying it out loud, being very clear in repetition. And then I would just say one of my favorite things to do and recommend to parents is make sure you tell each of your kids at different unique moments how much you like them. They know you love them, but do you like them? So make those words come out of your mouth and watch how your God just begins to open your heart even more to each of their contributions and the delight of watching them, even when they're in those snarky, rough seasons. Be able to say those words, I really like who you are and who God made you to be.
No, great question. Thanks for submitting your questions. Thanks for writing a review. And we just want to support you in this journey. You're the right parent for the job, and Tara and I are here cheering you on.